The Holy Bible.
In the name of the Most High, brothers and sisters, welcome to Find Your Voice. We're from Rehab to Life Foundation. I hope everybody's good out there. We've been having some technical hitches here, and we had a cancellation from the two sisters who was to come here today to explore social services. But now, spontaneously, we're moving on to the Floyd matter. Our brother Floyd, God bless his soul. Let's hear what we have to say and how we're going to handle this situation. Should we carry on rioting? What should we do? Shall we seek to do things in a more civilized and a more positive way that paves the way for our children and changes the laws and stuff like that? Anyway, we've got our brother Tony in the studio, good friend of Brother Dougie, great friend of Brother Dougie, and hey, okay. Well, T, can you introduce yourself, brother?
Hi, Tamara, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
From Bless Radio, you know what I mean? glad to be here. Sorry, my apologies for not reaching last week. I was supposed to come down last week, but I got caught up in a little something, a little domestic. You know what I mean? But like, glad to be here. I'm glad you're well. You know what I mean? I'm glad we're still carrying on what Brother Dougie, you know what I mean, instigated a long time ago, and like, it's good that like the Facebook group which got set up after his passing is still going strong. I mean, people are still posting things on there daily, and it just goes to show how much love people had for him, and still do. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
so R.I.P.D. And we'll see you soon, but not too soon. Not too soon. Don't no one want to see you too soon. Yeah.
Yes.
But like, but the situation right now is like the biggest problem at the moment is what's happening in the street in America.
Yes.
With George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting. And it seems that the mainstream people in America, they're only seeing what's happening now, and they think it's all off the back of George Floyd. It's not. It goes back way back before him. All the killings, all the deaths, all the murders that are happening in the hands of police, the racism, the violence, and everything else. It's all happening. All the way we've been crushed for so many years.
Absolutely.
This is the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes, and the thing is, the killings go on inside the prisons as well, and in the police stations as well, and indeed, it goes on in any way, in all sorts of angles, in all sorts of places.
And they call it suicide.
Yes, it goes on in the hospitals as well.
Oh,
I mean, to say, it's just this is what the institutional racism is all about.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
It's built in from core, from foundation, and they've had their way for so long that they don't know any other way. They take it for granted. So I was having a conversation with someone recently, and they said it just goes to show, like with the COVID, for instance. When the world wants to put their mind to something, the whole world is talking about COVID. Before George Floyd, everybody's talking about COVID. And all the world leaders got together and they locked down this country, that country, this country, and everything else. And they put certain things in place. If they wanted to stamp out racism, right, and they want to put their back into it, they could have done something about it. When they put their minds together to do something that suits them, they will do so. But racism doesn't concern them until we start to rise up and start burning down the place.
Absolutely, but I think we have a responsibility in that area as well. If we were more united, things like that would be less likely to happen, because we see the Asians are far more united than we are. I don't hear of Asian killings in custody and so forth, or on the streets and
true,
stuff
but then
like that.
they also don't see Asians as a threat in the same way they don't see their own as a threat. I mean, there was an incident where after this George Floyd situation, there was another incident about 3 or 4 days ago where there was a white man they handcuffed, put him on the floor. He was suspected of killing 2 people. They hunted him down, chased him down. They got him. They put him down by the side of the police car. They give him a bottle of water. Where they roughed him up and put the handcuffs on him. He had a wound. They're dressing his wound and treat him nice. They treat people differently, and they're not afraid of their own. They're not afraid of Chinese. They're afraid of the Menelin.
Yes, they are afraid
You know
of the Menelin, absolutely, and they're afraid of the Menelin, and they're afraid of the fact that we outnumber them, and we're still multiplying at a greater rate that will just saturate them out of existence by sheer numbers. But
well, the thing is, I mean, numbers wise, we're in Britain, so like obviously we're only like what? How much over here? I think it's 1.4 million people in Britain. But the thing is that obviously like we're in their land, and as much as like we'd like to go back, we'll be going back too. You know what I mean?
Well, there you go. I think this is what people feel trapped. They think, I say, well, let's go to Africa. And they'll say, what? Are you sure? I mean, but this is what our ancestors went through. They went through like what our brother Floyd went through, and even some people would say even worse than that in certain instances. Well, death is death, assassination is assassination, murder is murder. Don't know one murder being worse than another. I really, how you work that one out, I really don't know. But differently speaking, our ancestors went through all the trials and tribulations that they went through, hoping that one day we, their great grandchildren, will be back in our motherland, because that was the dream. You know, they didn't dream to sort of go through what they go through to try to establish themselves in the society that had taken them away. They wanted to go home.
Right.
And for me, someone said to me, well, we're not liked in England, we're not liked in the Caribbean, we're not liked in, everywhere. I said, well, at least when we're back in the land where we belong, it doesn't matter whether someone likes me or not, whether the people like me or not. Obviously, I'd like to be in an area find an area where I get on with my brothers and sisters. But I'd rather be in a land where I know this is the home of my ancestors.
Sure.
And I'm here to stay. I have a right to be here.
It would be beautiful.
But someone say, well, you don't have no right to be in America or in England, but I have a right to be in Africa.
Right.
And I really feel all these incidents that are happening are telling us it's time to leave. But in the meantime, of course, we've got to fight for our rights and all the rest of it and blah, blah, blah. But really, instead of entrenching ourselves in this society and hoping that they'll make laws to protect us and to prosecute people and put them away for a long time or whatever, it's futile. It's a false hope. I mean, it's better we just go home. It's time for us to leave.
You're right, because like there's never ever been an incident in history where a persecutor has brought people from another land, made them their slaves, and you mean, and then there's never been a case in history where at some stage they've made them their equal. They've never become equals. They've got the upper hand. Why would they give it up? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So as far as I've never been to Africa. No, I lie. I've been to South Africa, but that was on a press trip thing. But I haven't found there's many generations which have passed, so we've lost that sort of connection.
That's right.
To the motherland. My strongest connection. Obviously, I'm born here in Britain, but my strongest connection is Saint Lucia, the Caribbean.
Right. Yeah.
And I absolutely love it there. And it was a light bulb moment when I was over there a few years ago, and I was sitting at a little bar watching the world go by, and you see a postman go past, black like me, a judge go past, black like me, a fireman go past, black like me, and I was thinking, and it was a light bulb moment, bro, what am I doing in Britain?
Yeah.
What am I struggling for in Britain? Actually, I wanted to go home, lift up my whole family, and come to St. Lucia and set up shop. You know what I mean?
For real.
It's like you're right. It's like it's terrible. It's terrible the way we're being treated over here. Why would you want to stay somewhere where you're actually really not wanted?
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So really, truly, we should be going back to going back to somewhere where we can spend our money.
Yeah.
With people who appreciate it, with people who can build an infrastructure to grow and expand. I mean, obviously the Chinese can go back to China, the Americans can go back to America. Black people can't go back to black land. There is no black land in black. You know what I mean? So it's like choose somewhere and then make it and build upon it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard some Chinese went over there with $50,000, and 3 or 5 years later, that $50,000 it turned into $5 million.
Wow!
Because he invested in a gold mine, I think, or some mine of some sort.
Right.
And rapidly made a lot of money.
In Africa or?
In Africa,
Yeah.
yes, in Africa. And if a Chinaman can go there with 50 grand, then I'm sure there's a lot of us here who could put 50 grand together, you know, and go into the mining business. I mean, Africa awaits its creators, you know, and we're the creators that Africa awaits, so regardless of the divisions and the divides that were caused, you know, by Europeans and so on, who turned them against us and turned us against them, you know. They'd say, oh, these bush people in Africa, you know, load of monkeys over there and blah, blah, blah. They'll forget about the witch doctor, you know, here's a pill, you know what I mean? Them all that mumbo jumbo. They ridiculed everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, but you felt shame to have anything to do with, you know, with Africa and so on and so forth. I remember that you know, that being perpetrated, being, you know, forced on us, so to speak, you know, and so we all felt uncomfortable in one way or another. I didn't really take it. I've never hated Africans myself. I've never hated Africans. Just like it's the same thing with the Caribbean. I've never hated Jamaicans because they come from a big island and I'm from a small island, and they're calling me small island Dominique. I mean, these things, I used to laugh at these things as a child. But this is the way that we were sort of divided. We became so divided against each other in these juvenile delinquent talk, you know. And,
but that's the thing is, it's like, because all those kind of small things that we done as a children, like obviously like Africans, and we used to call them boo boo and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I was indoctrinated into that nonsense on account of the fact that I was a child, acting like a child. As you get older, you grow into a man. You're supposed to act like a man. Absolutely. Learn for yourself. Understand why do I not like you? Why am I taking this prejudice against you for no reason? What? Because my father said so. Because my friend said so. This is where racism is ingrained in many institutions, because the next set of people coming in just follow what they're taught, and so on and so forth. It just keeps on going, and they keep the nonsense going. And that's how racism like continues. In the same way, if you see a little child on the street, and a little white child on the street looks at you and goes, oh, like, you mean, like, according to whatever names, that's not from their mouths. That's taught. That's what they're hearing around their house.
Absolutely.
Right. So this whole racism thing it's got to. I can't say it's got to stop. We'd all love it to stop. I can't see it stopping in our lifetime. But for the most immediate thing, racism in the police force, the judicial system has got to stop. That's got to be squashed. And as long as they're on the streets, I'm not like condoning that they should go out and riot. Protest by all means. Riot. No, I mean we shouldn't really riot, but then but the way people hear is when, I mean, you can fight violence with violence. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I saw when they rioted, I saw pictures of white folks going in and looting down the shops.
Well, man,
I didn't see any black people looting anything. You know, they just rioted just to get venting out their anger. And this is it, you know, they always used to say, you've got a chip on your shoulder, because you sort of act a bit boisterous, or you speak up for yourself. Oh, you got a chip on your shoulder. And to be honest, I do know that we do carry a lot of anger inside us, and many of us do. And there's a lot of angry youths around, and this anger is coming from. Well, it's coming from the conditions we're brought up at home, and also the conditions in the environment that we're brought up in as well.
Drug upping. We didn't create the environment, because if you go to any Caribbean island where loving people, beautiful people, you go to St. Lucia, you go to Jamaica, all you're going to hear from anybody going over there on holiday is that, oh, it's such a beautiful place, and the people loved us, and they're so loving and caring, and blah blah blah. But when they come back to their lives in England or America, or wherever, they get back into their normal routine of like, just, I mean, that's a black man, afraid for him, that's a white woman, she's all right. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we are by nature a loving people, a loving race, by nature. You know what I mean?
Yes.
By nature, and we nurture our, siblings, and the rest of the generation behind us. But the anger we have inside of us is not inbuilt. That's reaction to their actions.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And their actions basically are killing us, literally killing us.
Yeah.
I mean, George Floyd paid the ultimate price with his life. He begged so many times for just a breath of air, and he was denied a breath of air.
Well, I mean, this was premeditated murder. How could you have your knee down on a man's neck for what, 5 minutes, 7 minutes? And the man is screaming out, he can't breathe, and he just there cool with the hands in your pocket. That is cold murder.
Yeah, this is
this is
no
psychopathic, merciless murder.
Well.
And to have, and the other guys who were there with him, they're guilty of the same thing, because none of them said, "That's enough, John."
Exactly.
Come on, leave it out. Let him breathe. He can't do anything. His hands are tied. He's on the ground, on his belly. He's no danger to us.
Yeah.
No.
But that's how afraid of us they are. They need us. How many times have we seen? Forget about the police shooting down. I mean, they'll never forget about it. Take away the fact that they will shoot us in a heartbeat. Forget the fact that they will wait until they get us to a police cell where they're now outnumbering us sort of like 20-1 and then beat on us. Take away the fact that they always need us handcuffed and restrained before they then want to beat us down. You know what I mean? In the same way like slavery days. I mean, tie you to a tree, make sure you can't move at all, and then whip you. You know what I mean? The abuse is abuse on top of violence, on top of abuse, and it's it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart.
It reminds me of the fact that we're God's children. We're the children of the Creator, children of the Most High. Well, they are children of the Most High. They were created by the Most High as well. But we're the ones who are really close. We're the original, children. The carbon, the real carbon copy of the Most High. We're just that closer to the Most. That's why we're so spiritual. That's why we're so deeply loving. That's why we don't have a history of this sort of this abominable violence and ungodliness and depravity. That and so on, and this merciless and callous, systems that they got in place that are perpetrated against us. And so we want people like that. I'm sure you didn't hear of the Moors going around the 700 years in Europe. They didn't go around mugging white people and murdering them, and they were educating them and civilizing them and cleaning them up, health and hygiene and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely,
as well.
absolutely.
Stopping them from sleeping with the dogs in the bed, and, and things like that, and sleeping with animals and all that. This is, and really and truly, yes, the Moors did a great job for Europe. Look, Europe is built lovely, and it seems as though they shared the knowledge with them because they took that knowledge and turned it against us. Isn't that right? I mean to say, and they hate us for it. After civilizing them, they've turned around and hated us.
They do. They resent us because they fear us. They fear us because they know that within us we hold a light. There's something that we have within us that they don't seem to understand what it is. Well, in any movie you've ever seen, when there's an alien encounter, like something from outer space, you always see like them trying to kill it. They love to kill what they don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand us.
Yeah.
They know we have something within us which they don't understand, our resilience. They don't understand how we can turn the other cheek for so many years. They don't understand the compassion that we have, the nurturing spirit that we have. They don't understand it. So if they don't understand it and they don't have it with their callous, cold-hearted behavior, they want to kill it.
Yes, they fear it. Anything they don't understand, they fear it.
They fear it.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, we are God's children. We definitely are God's children. And I know that in life there's good and evil. And evil swore to God that I'm I'm going to ruin your children. I'm going to lead them all astray. I'm going to take them away from you. I'm going to hold them in captivity. I'm going to do the best I can so that you lose all your sweet, lovely children that you got here. And I feel this is a spiritual warfare going on. This is not just political. This also, it comes from a spiritual realms and manifesting itself on the earth, the war between good and evil. And, and God's people have been going, we've got a history of that with the pharaohs, and I'm sure even before the pharaohs, we've been going through this so many times over and over and over
We have.
and over again.
But the difference on this one is that there's all different. There's so many different races now. When you look at the news reels and the news features about what's going on in America, in Britain, France, Belgium, you know what I mean, and different countries regarding George Floyd. I mean, you can see there's Hispanics, English, Chinese, whatever. They're all banding together because there's enough people now. We can't turn away from what's happening in the judicial system. That you can't turn away from the evil that you mentioned. There's good, there's right, there's wrong.
Yeah.
If it's wrong, it's wrong. You can't turn away from it anymore. And if you do turn away from it, it's like you're part of the problem. Simple. So there's so many people now who have now just put their hands up and said, look, this cannot happen anymore. You can't just be killing people in the street like this, like dog. They actually treat dogs better.
Better, absolutely.
They do. You know what I mean? Yeah, how many times they got laws where you can't leave a dog in a car without cracking a window on a hot summer day, but you can leave a black man in a boot. I'm sure. You know what I mean? All right. So there's too many people who are on board with the same message. In the same way, there's a lot of people who are infiltrating the masses, the protesters, and trying to mash up the whole message that's getting across. The looting, the rioting, the violence, the nonsense. The police are using the same sort of like violent tactics in order so they can perpetrate it with more violence.
More violence.
You
And
know
that's
what I mean?
an excuse to get even harsher.
Exactly.
I mean, that's an excuse now to, oh God, I better not even say the word. You know what I'm saying? But, like going on a rampage.
I'm telling you.
Oh Lord, have mercy on our souls. And really and truly, prayer is a very powerful thing. We've got to pray. We black people, we've got to pray. We don't pray, hard enough. We've got to pray. We've got to fast when we pray. I'd like to see a day where we say, well, every Wednesday, from Tuesday night at 12 o'clock, we don't eat anything till 12 o'clock on Wednesday. And when we get up, and at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, from 10 till 12 o'clock on that Wednesday, we do a 5-minute prayer, and break the fast after that. We do that. And I'm telling you, that will move mountains. That will shake up governments and things that, the weather, all sorts of things. I'm telling you, this is where we need to connect. We need to connect with our God, with our Creator, because only God can help us out of this. Relying on manpower alone and political power alone is futile. It will always just go so far and then it will deflate again because it's not built on the foundation of what? On love, on God power, the loving power, that loving energy, that creative power that created all things visible and invisible.
I hear you, but
we've got to tap into that.
But I'm sure there's a part in the Bible where the Lord said, I will help those who help themselves. The Lord
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
we can't just sit back and wait.
Absolutely, but I think what happens is that sometimes we get carried away into helping ourselves and we forget God, and so we're not being guided by God or being directed by our Creator. We're being guided and directed on our own thinking, and our own thinking is not good enough, brother. We try again. It's not good enough, and it's the same thing what they're doing. They're just relying on their evil thoughts and so on.
White
and,
privilege.
You know, and whatever it is. And so really and truly, we've got to have God's backing in everything. That is why we say, thank you, God, Creator, for the food I'm eating, for every breath I breathe, because every breath, one breath is priceless. You can't pay for that. Every step I make is priceless. You can't pay for these things. Lifting up my hand, waving my fingers, and opening my eyes, just a blink is priceless. The things that our Creator creates, they're priceless.
The simple things we take for
really
granted.
and truly, we take for granted. You can't buy these things. And really and truly, we need to connect with that, get closer. We're not close enough, brother. If we were closer to our Creator, brother, things wouldn't be happening on the scale that it's happened to us for all these hundreds of years, brother. Going back thousands of years even. We keep, I think there's a problem where we sometimes we tend to run after foreign gods and try to live like foreign people and take up foreign ways and everything instead of keeping to our culture and our traditions and our spirituality. We need, a lot of us are waking up to that now, and are practicing it to the best of our ability. And by the grace of the Most High, that we'll continue and get stronger and stronger and unite spiritually as well as mentally and physically, because just mental power alone is not enough, brother. We need that spiritual energy, that created all things, that love energy there. And love isn't a weak thing. It's the most powerful thing in all creation, and very disciplined. And love defends itself. And love is not a doormat, you know what I mean? And is no fool either, you know what I'm saying?
I hear you. The only problem is that the problem I see with that is us as a people, we are a loving people. As I said, we hold a light. So when we're in the Caribbean, when we're in Africa, amongst ourselves, we are loving. But when we're constantly oppressed, obviously we're now we're now separated across the globe. So now we're in other countries, whereas they don't want us there. They wanted us there for when they wanted the labor. But now they've got the infrastructure off our backs. You know what I mean? Now they want to shun us and all the rest of it. Now we can hold that love, that spirituality, but when you're in the lion's den, it's hard to hold yourself. If you're in prison, prisoners, when they're in their cell, they're in that madness. They got to live by the prisoners' rules and the wardens and the governor's rules, and you get up at said time, you stay in your room at said time, you clean this, you do that, whatever, and like you got to get through the time. I've never done time, but I'm just assuming that the way to get through the time is just to hold a little something within yourself and just know yourself, get to know yourself better. But the problem is, as a race, like for instance, black people being in Britain, I mean, it's hard to you can't do it on your own, because if you got police knocking on your door, or you're afraid for when your children leave the house and you hear gunshot pop off or taser or whatever, you don't know what's happening. So it's hard to, it's all well and good to be loving and spiritually and turn the other cheek and all sort of stuff, but it comes a time when unity I believe is key. Collaboration is key. And if we can unify and show love towards each other, forget about this violence and knife violence and drug gang warfare and all that kind of nonsense. If we can find unity amongst ourselves, and then as one unit, we can then, impose ourselves upon, make our stance. That would be more beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. But I know that to love my brother, I need to love myself, because if I don't love myself, it's very difficult for me to love you. No matter how much I try, and it's not happening because I don't love myself. It's like I can't give you any money if I don't have no money for myself.
Exactly.
So I can't give you any love if I haven't got no love for myself. And observing this, I feel is a basic ingredient that we need to love ourselves more, so that we can unite more, because we're not united enough. Because if we were more united than what we are at the present moment, less atrocities would be carried against us, because for these people, they're so united that You know, yeah, it's like, this is why boys get together in a gang, because they know boy has a gang, you know what I mean? You know,
We're
people
stronger by numbers,
they're
yeah.
stronger by numbers. But we know we're seen to be fragmented, Jamaicans against Lucians, Lucians against Dominica or whatever. Well, Lucians aren't against Dominicans. We're very close, actually. Yeah, we're very, we're the same kind of thing, really. Speak the same pattern and all the rest of it. But, you know, in the way we're divided like this, Hackney, black boys in Hackney against black boys from Islington and Tottenham, and you know, all this nonsense, North and South and East and West London and all this river and all this nonsense. It's easily to exploit, you know.
Easy to, and that's what they bank on. I mean, they recognise that the strongest thing in all this is divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they try. That's what they've instilled that in us for years and years and years. That divide and conquer. Be it there was competition. Be it football teams. You got Tottenham against Arsenal. They won a war. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
North against South. They won a war. Black against white. They won a war. It's always like a competition. You're right. There should be more love in the world. But until there is, all we can do is unite with the ones around us. I mean, as I said, it's like the Caribbean, it used to be like a Trini, Jamaican, Bayesian kind of whatever, right? And like a not rivalry, but more, not even animosity, more like a rivalry. But then as we've become older, as I said before, it's like when we thought as children, you act like children, but now we're men and women. We're supposed to act like men and women. And be more responsible for our actions. So me, I mean, be it Trini, Jamaican, whatever it is, that makes no difference. All I know, the person that is front of me is black like me. I mean, it's after sound, mind and body, we can vibes. You know what I mean? And we can, if we're both on the same path in life, then we can collaborate. You know what I mean? So be African, if I see the melanin in your skin and the love in your heart that we can vibe, then let's vibe. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, in the words of Dougie, we can reason. We can reason.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
we can reason indeed.
But yeah, but like, and I think like we are in a whole. We're sort of we're waking up a lot more. There's atrocities like these, like George Floyd, are opening up more of our eyes to the fact that there's bigger atrocities. There's bigger things to war about other than someone step on my shoes. You know what I mean? Or a man look at me sideways, or I see you looking at my girl, or whatever. I mean, there's
a bigger enemy
there's
out
a
there.
bigger enemy out there.
There's a big beast, dangerous beast out
Exactly.
there.
So we now reckon. I mean, that's
And they got a license.
and it's got a license, and it's weaponized. You know what I mean? So, and when I see the looting, I mean, I'm not supposed to be advocating violence, but when I saw the looting, I don't understand why people are running into certain shops and getting that big TV and Adidas trainers and Nike trainers and Jordan the best show. I'm like, what are you doing? If you want to loot, go and loot for a good reason. I.e., it's got to be either food or weapons, because we're in a. It is a battle zone. It is a battle zone. It's war, and if they come to kill us, I mean, you need to be armed. A flat screen TV ain't gonna save you. A new, if you're gonna die, don't die with a pair of Jordans on your feet. Die with a gun in your hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and all the shops in America, I mean, they've got gun shops on every corner, like chicken shops, and even in their big Walmarts and all things like that, they got big gun racks and all that kind of business. So if you're gonna go in there and get something, get that, arm yourself. I had to, while this has all been going on for the last week or so, I had to sit down with my children and explain to them exactly what this is all about.
Yes.
Obviously, they got questions, and I mean, I'm trying to keep them in the loop and stuff. And there's the one story that came to mind, because they were asking me questions about Donald Trump. Why is Donald Trump trying to do this? Why did he push back all those peaceful protesters with tear gas and riot shields and everything else just so he can take a photograph of the Bible in front of a church? And I was like, okay, this is what it is. There's an old story, I remember, because I was brought up Roman Catholic, and there's an old story I remember that one of the teachers told us, or the priest or whatever it was, there was a man walking along the street, and he had a cape on, and there was the devil and God were talking and looking down on this man, and I think the devil bet God that he could get this cape off the man. So God said, "All right, I'll take the bet." So he's like, so the devil started to blow, and the cape was like flapping. He started to blow harder. The man tied the cape on harder and hold on to the cape. He started to send rain and more wind, and the man is like blowing on the street, hanging to the railings, but he's still hanging on his cape. So the devil said, "Boy, this man ain't gonna give up the cape." Right? So God said, "Well, you know what? My turn." So God smiled and the sun shined. He smiled harder. The man got warmer. The sun shined. You know what I mean? He smiled and sent down so much love, and the sun was bright, and it was a warm day. The man take off the coat neatly and rest down. What I tried to explain to my children was, violence begets violence.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You can get more done, as you said, with love in your heart. You know what I mean? And a peaceful protest, and with the if you got the right goal and the right means to the goal, then you get a lot more done rather than the violence. Because as far as violence, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned. You know what I mean? If we wanna throw rocks, they can throw bullets. If we find bullets, they will find a rocket. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And Donald Trump is way too happy to pull a trigger on all this stuff.
Absolutely.
I think he's an absolute madman.
Absolutely. I mean, to say really, you call that a civil war. I mean, say really and truly, we've got no army. You know, we don't have the. You know what I mean? So, you know, forget about that. You don't go to war to lose a war. You know what I'm saying? You know, you go to war to win a war. I don't believe in suicidal warfare and all that kind of thing. There, you have to win the war, and really, the only way I see us really winning the war is with our Creator guiding and directing and protecting us in what we do. I mean, just like when he said, "Just march around the wall how many times?" And keep blowing those trumpets. And next thing you know, the whole wall just tumbled down. You know, this is the kind of power that we're looking to deal with there. Like the same power that built the pyramids that they can't even fathom today how to reproduce and things like that. You know, that is the power about getting. And we were dissuaded and discouraged from relating to nature with nature. We were distanced from it. You know, all that bushman stuff and all that sort of stuff, and that's where the power is. You know, being at one with the sea and with the rivers and the trees and the winds and the sun and all. And once you can reign in that power, you know, because this is what we've lost. We've lost that connection.
The connection.
You know, and we have dominion on this airplane, and they know that, and this is why they will do their utmost best, you know, to annihilate us, because they don't want us to be to get to that position ever again, because we were there, you know, in the part they call the half that's never been told, basically.
They've seen what we're capable of.
Yeah.
They know what we're capable of, and they're afraid that if we ever wake up to the fact of our realization of what we're capable of, they're going to lose. All right? Now, what's the problem is at the moment, we're waking up. Some of us are woke already, but the problem with the ones who are woke, when we put the message out there, it comes out like a rant. And because we're so passionate, our passion comes out, and it comes out like a rant. Now, the thing is, and when you find someone who is eloquent, like, say, for instance, Farrakhan, when you got find someone who is eloquent and can get his words across and get the message across and start rally the people, they'll then put sanctions on that one person because they recognize there's way too much power for one person. There was a part in the movie with Malcolm X, where the Spike Lee movie with Malcolm X, and there was a whole rally, and they were all there up against the police face to face and all the rest of it, and then like the police officer spoke to Malcolm X and said, "Listen, this is going to get ugly if you don't disperse now." And Malcolm X went, "Okay, fair enough." And he put his hand up. Everybody went silent. He pointed, and everybody dispersed. And then there was one line in that movie straight after that scene where one cop said to another, "There's way too much power for one man to have." Right? And that's what it is. When they recognize who's got the power, they'll crack down on that one person.
Yeah, out that, and then the rest will disperse.
Disperse. Malcolm X.
Yes.
Gone.
Yes, brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to call here. I thought for the phone buzz there.
Okay.
Anyway, brothers and sisters, we'd like to hear your views. Please find your voice and call us on 079 31366. That's 079 444-31366. Yes, we just want to know what you think. What's the solution to this problem with this George Floyd atrocity, that abominable act against our brother? You know, what we're going to do about it? What's the best way to go forward? Please, we'd like to hear from you. Blessed love.
Yeah.
Yes, Brother Tony.
It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. It's going to be... Someone said, when I'm watching the news readings, someone said it's like running a marathon through mud. Every single step is going to be hard.
Yes.
I hope to God that like these guys get conviction. It goes to conviction. For starters, I hope there's a case. I mean, that they see as a fit case to put forward. I hope they do get tried for murder. Murder 3 was rubbish. Murder 2 is, what it should be, with the manslaughter charge as well. And all 4 of them should go down for it. And it shouldn't just be these 4 ex-officers to take the fall for all the atrocities the police force has done before them. They should be reformed throughout the police force. They should look into their policing, their judicial system. They got to go through the whole thing. They got to go through the whole thing again and sort it all out, because it's not working in our favour. There's got to be justice for us to respect the law.
Absolutely.
It's got to be fair.
Yes, it's got to be fair. It's got to be fair. That's a fact. And legislation. I mean, I remember when they brought in legislations for racism and so on, and so that black people could get more jobs or even better jobs. And well, as you know, today, you've got the thing where if you call someone, "Oh, you black so and so," you can get charged. You white so and so, you can get charged for making a racist remark. But but this is just cosmetic. All these laws that they've passed for racism, we've found that other minorities have jumped on the bandwagon and have made it their own, because all these laws for ethnic minorities was really for us. They were introduced for our benefit, and you've got all other different kinds of minorities in society now hijack the thing,
exactly.
You know what I mean, and getting all the benefits from it, and we haven't really made any progress in that direction. I mean, the youths now, once again, even a lot of black people asking, yes, stop and search the youths, because and blah blah blah, it's getting terrible. We got to do something about it. We've been through the stop and search for decades and decades and decades. It doesn't work. All it does is create a fracas between the police
and animosity
and so on, and really it encourages the police to take liberties with a lot of our youths out there. I'm not saying that the youths are perfect either. Some of them need to show some manners, some kind of self-discipline, what I mean, and instead of talking themselves into trouble or acting themselves into trouble, we've got to take it easy. And this is why when we love ourselves, we don't put ourselves in unnecessary danger. You know what I'm saying? I love myself, and I'm going to defend myself, without as much as I can without getting hurt. But if I get hurt, if I get murdered, killed, whatever, then so be it. But at least I'm going to do my best to navigate my way in life in a way that keeps me as safe as I can. I mean, as a soldier, you don't go out there to get killed, do you? You know what I mean? But you know, there's a possibility of getting killed, but you do your best not to, get killed. But while you probably kill someone in the process, but so it's a very difficult one. But
well, I'm pretty sure that George Floyd didn't wake up expecting to die that morning.
No,
he wasn't expecting to get murdered that morning, especially over whether he knew or didn't know about that £20 counterfeit bill that he passed over the counter. Because this was all about. He bought some cigarettes with a $20 bill, and he went to the shop, bought some cigarettes with a $20 bill, and then went back to his car. While he was sitting in his car, the people in the shop recognized the $20 bill was counterfeit, so they saw him in his car still. So they went across to his car and said, "Can we get the cigarettes back? Because it's a counterfeit $20 bill." Yeah. Apparently, after some sort of exchange of words, I don't know whether they're heated or not, because we didn't see if Floyd was in the car. They left empty-handed. Now, if he had something, if he was malicious like that, if he was intentionally going out to defraud, a local shop for a pack of cigarettes, you would have thought at that point he would have left in his vehicle and gone.
Yeah.
But obviously he stayed there, and then what's happened happened. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's terrible the fact that even to go about our daily business, loving your heart or not, it's like there's going to be outside forces who are willing to, impede on.
Yes. Don't you think that we have to be ourselves? If we're loving people, we've got to live loving, where we can get angry or this and that and this and that, but we've got to come from a place basically of love. And don't you think that's the best way to handle this situation, or do you think that
I think we turned the other cheek for so many years now? We can't turn. We've got no more cheeks to turn.
So do you think love is turning the other cheek?
Yeah. Loving. This is what I think. What you're saying is exactly right. We are loving ourselves, and in the same way with what's happening now, we're showing others that we love ourselves enough not to get treated the way we're being treated. That's what it is. We are loving ourselves. We are being pro ourselves. We're as I said, we're not violent. We're not naturally violent towards others. When we're violent towards others, it's normally a reaction to their actions. So right now, it's a case of we are loving ourselves. It's very much like, the best way to put it is, there's someone I know who is really unhappy at their workplace. And I'm like, well, I said, what's wrong exactly? He goes, well, my boss is this, my boss is riding me, my boss doesn't treat me with respect, and Don't be somewhere where you're not treated the way you want to be treated.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So when you make a stand, you can make your stand in different ways. You can either turn around and say, listen, I understand it's your company, God love you, I can't work here, I can't work for you or this company anymore because I don't like the way I'm being treated here, so I've got to leave. You can either just walk out and then, separate yourself from the whole situation, or you can have that conversation, which is another way, and say, listen, I don't like the way I'm being treated, and try and get things in place and try and change the whole system from within. Or there's a third option, which is you leave that night and come back in the middle of the night and burn down the whole building. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can do the violent tactic, you can have the conversation, and try and talk it through. But if, if the conversation doesn't work, then you can leave. You know what I mean? So we've got to make a choice out of the three. You can't just sit there and wait and hope that it's going to get better. You can't hope that the boss is going to make you all of a sudden one day and respect you. They're not going to respect you for any reason. So in the same way, we as a race, we love ourselves enough not to get trampled on anymore. I tell you how much we love ourselves. The mere fact that the woman who filmed the incident filmed it. She stopped. She was walking on she was going about her business, and she stopped and she filmed it because she saw another brother like her in distress, and she didn't want this to pass. If that footage wasn't available, would all this be happening? It'd be one cop's word against another, and no one would have seen anything.
Well, this is the problem. There's so much of it happening that we don't know about.
There's so much we don't know about.
This is less than the tip of the iceberg, and it's been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, all my lifetime, and I haven't seen it got any better. In fact, it's got worse.
Right.
It has got worse, and this is why I always have to come to the point, boy, it's time for us to leave, you know. I mean, it's all very well us fighting for our rights here and all that, but really and truly, we ought to be fighting more to leave, make some kind of plan to leave. This is not where we're meant to be. This is not our home.
Yeah, I want to leave. But we're of age where we're of age where we would like to go somewhere else and see out the rest of our days. I mean, we're not that old, but I mean, live in peace.
Yeah.
But our children, I mean, we've put in enough work in this country to earn a place here. I mean, we've built Britain. We've built since the war. I mean, during the war, we paid our dues during the war. We built the place after the war. The National Health Service, the Transport Service, the hospitality services. I mean, we've paid our dues for our children and our grandchildren to be here. Yeah. So really and truly, for us to pack up and go, we're selling ourselves short. We shouldn't have to. We should have the choice of whether we should be here or not. But it seems as though there's too many people who don't want to give us that choice. They want to try and take that choice away from us, which is, for want of a better word, it's just not fair. I mean, it's such a weak word, but it's just not fair. And that's what these marches are all about. This thing runs deep. It's not just about George Floyd. It's been, as you said, it's centuries of oppression, centuries of abuse that we just can't take it no more. And I'm glad that the marches are happening over here. It's crossed the pond, and marches are happening over here. I was at one on Sunday. It was beautiful to see thousands of people side by side, united in grief, united in the want for change, united in the hope that things will change, united in trying to make a change. Black, white, Indian, Chinese. It was beautiful. Yeah. Within the crowd, you can see some people got their own agendas, but I mean, you can weed those out.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, we really need to look at this thing, and we look at the history of all this, and we see in the Brixton riots when after the riots, suddenly the place got gentrified, and the rest of it. And in fact, the blacks sort of moved that the population became less, less and less, that's so on and so forth. I didn't see a whole heap of black businesses pop up after that. Suddenly it was a lot of other businesses moved in, and very expensive and gentrified businesses and so on. Lovely. And the same thing. I mean, even in Tottenham is now being gentrified. Yeah. I see it being gentrified as well. And Bristol, where there was rioting, that's been gentrified. So the places where you go and riot, these places become gentrified afterwards. So it's like a
This is where the government thinks that by gentrifying the areas which are oppressed. Say, for instance, Brixton. I remember before the riots, Brixton was a place where we used to travel from East London up to Brixton for culture, for food, for all sorts of things, for clothing. I mean, I remember the Brixton market was, that was a black market.
Yeah, it was buzzing. That was real beautiful.
That was wicked. It was absolutely wicked. But I remember, after the riots, and then let's say everything burned down, and then they said, well, we're going to put some money into the community. But when they, just in the same way they put in their money, they put in their people in place to look after their money.
Absolutely.
And their invested interest.
Yes.
Right? Because that's what it was. It was an invested interest in the land, the property, the buildings. I remember, there was a few years after the riots that I went down to the market and I didn't recognize the market. Yeah. I mean, go down to the market and try and buy a piece of yam from a black man. Not a chance. You know what I mean?
Serious, man.
And so all the small black businesses, all the small black units that were there, gone. There's very few people in there who managed to hang on by the skin of their teeth to a unit. Because of pricing or this or that or whatever reasons they gave. But as I said, when they, it's same thing like Tottenham as well, same thing like Hackney. They have riots. It all kicks off, and then they in the media they slate it. Oh, it's a bad place to be. You want to ideally you should move out. Don't be around here. It's not a place to be. So people moved out there. People moved out of those in Hackney. I remember loads of black people came across in the 60s and stuff, and bought those big 3-4 story Victorian houses.
Yes, my parents had a couple of them.
Struggled to hang on to it, paid them off, and now they're paid off. Now those houses are 1.2
and 2.4
million, right?
Yeah.
So then, when the media gets on board and they turn around and say, "Oh,
how this thing keep buzz?" Oh, sorry.
You know what I mean? When
What's that?
Yeah, when the media gets on board and says, "Oh, the schooling in this Hackney is terrible, the crime rate in this area is terrible," and black people, the bougie black people, don't want to be associated with, you know what I mean, the criminal element, so they move out, and they move out to places like Milton Keynes, all out in the sticks.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So they set off their houses, their big 3-4 story houses, which then get turned into flats. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. Whereas now they're taking over what we had. I mean, we struggled to get it up to scratch. They take it from scratch. They take it on and reap the benefits. Whereas we should be reaping the benefits, but we're not.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
All
But we're
we're
not.
here is like the fodder to feed their greed or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Their greed, their
racism and their selfishness, their
all those things,
anger, their
all those things,
resentments, their Lord have
and that's
mercy.
why now with the protests that are happening now, I'm all for the protests. I'm absolutely 100% all for the protests.
Oh yes, that's 100% right. We're all for the protesting, but I'd just like to see us unite like that in other matters. You know, when it comes to, when you say, let's go and protest and all that in that fashion there because of a death, because of a murder that's taken place. Well, what about the thing that's been taking place for decades? We need to establish ourselves, with businesses, with banks, with this, with that, with schools, etc. We need to consolidate. We need to spend money amongst ourselves, which is something that you promote and encourage with your events and so on and so forth.
With Black Brits,
we need to do that much more. We need to do that in a bigger way and every day, not just once a week or. We need to, and obviously we need more black businessmen and women out there with shops and offices and whatever, so that we can go and deal with these places and spend our money.
Right, we do. We need it. We need the infrastructure, and with the whole thing about divide and conquer is that you got so many businesses, so many entrepreneurs, so many individuals working from home, and we're not coming together. That's why I set up Black Brits. The event company, whereas we put on events where we have the marketplaces and I bring all these businesses under one roof and we can all trade amongst each other and get to know who is doing what, and you've been to a number of the events and you can see the love in the room, right?
Absolutely.
And everybody loves those events because it's like it's the feeling. It's the feeling of freedom. As you come through the door and you see all the black businesses selling their wares and the food and the smells and the senses and the music and the atmosphere, it's just all a feeling of love. And that's how I'm trying to create the world I want my children to grow up in. I'm trying to show them how things should be.
How they ought
to be, the possibilities. If we could spread that out to the high street, that would be great. Again, obviously, that the events that Dougie and myself were putting together as well, we were hoping to take them out to a place like the XL. But I mean, but my goal is not so much to take it to the XL, but more so to own a building, have a building of our own, the size of the XL.
Yes, that's more like it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the way we ought to be thinking.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Because
have a building that size.
Because we go to the XL, we have a thing, and then it's over, and then we're still back. You know what I mean? We're still looking for a place for another venue.
Exactly.
We've got to have our own venues.
I mean,
Absolutely.
My goal now. I mean, with the events that Black Brits put on, I want to expand them, make them bigger, and make them better. Obviously, once this lockdown, COVID, situation is under control, if ever. But then, 'cause obviously, nothing's ever going to be the same again. But I'd love to expand it, and I'd love to get bigger and bigger to get our own building. And when, not if, but when I do manage to obtain a building, it will be called Douglas Williams.
Wonderful,
100%
wonderful.
Douglas
Yes.
Williams.
Douglas Williams.
The Douglas Williams building.
Yes, absolutely.
And so people, I don't want his name ever to be forgotten.
Absolutely.
I want his name to stand alongside Bernie Grant.
Yes.
And Dame Jocelyn Burrows, who recently passed in March. There's so many. All the names have gone out of my head for the moment, but
Yes.
of all the black people in British who've done something for people in this country, in the community, I love Douglas, brother Dougie's name to stand alongside them.
Absolutely. Brother Doug is building. Brother Doug is complex.
Yeah.
Brother Doug is,
Yeah.
for real.
That's what you need. He can't be
Brother
forgotten.
Doug is house.
Yeah, he could never be forgotten. Never be forgotten. He was such a giving, loving person. He was the epitome of giving. He was a big, massive heart walking around on legs. Yeah, if he had 10 pence to give you, he'd give it to you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If it will further the cause.
Absolutely. Bro.
So yeah, we miss him. We definitely miss him, but he will not be forgotten for sure.
Absolutely, and that was the love that shone through Brother Doug. It shone so brightly that it was expressed, and a lot of us say that we're loving, but are we expressing it?
Exactly.
This is the thing, or what's the motive behind it? Because you can, because that's another part of it. What's your motive? Is it just for selfish reasons, or is it for a real or unification reasons? We gotta love with the right motive, because there's different types of love. I don't think a lot of people really know what love is, because people have different interpretations of it.
I see the government seem to want to lock down love, because they're saying that you can't, with this COVID situation, they're saying that you can't have someone else, you can't have sex with someone else from another household under your. I'm like, you heard about that?
Yes, I heard something something similar.
When I first heard that, I mean, you can't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner out of your house, live to your house, and they can't come over to each other's house and make out. I'm like, you got to be crazy. 10 weeks? So there's,
I mean, this is real control method happening here, a control method. And that's another reason why things will never be the same again. People have been distanced from each other for so long now, and being afraid of each other as well. I've seen it, yes, people would sort of and all the rest of it. The psyche, the human psyche has changed, and this is global. This is not just in London, this is global.
Right.
So we're coming out into a different, a different world we're living in now.
See, that's my thinking as well.
And we can't, and there's no going back, funnily enough. I mean, in that sense that the way everyone is contaminated, not by coronavirus, they've been more contaminated by
mentally.
Mentally.
That's
mentally.
The biggest contagion here is fear.
Yeah, fear. Absolutely.
Fear is the biggest contagion, because what it is, that's why that's another thing with the George Floyd march. You talking about, with all these marches happening in Indianapolis, New York, Memphis, New York, LA, there's thousands upon thousands of people in all these different cities which are coming together side by side, some throwing rocks, banners, protesting, side by side, shouting, everything else. Now, if this COVID situation was as contagious as they say, we should see all these people. This happened about 10 days ago. People marching for the last 8 days. Hold on a second. All these people should be in hospital. You know what I mean? We should have thousands of people in hospital right now.
Serious.
On that side of the water and on this side of the water. I was at the march on Sunday. We were all side by side. I mean, I'm not saying rubbing shoulders and hugging and kissing, but like this contagion they're talking about is not is not as much. They've overhyped it.
Absolutely.
They've definitely overhyped it. I don't doubt the numbers. I mean, well, I do have doubt on the numbers actually. I don't doubt. I don't doubt there is something. There is some sort of virus, but I don't believe that it's as contagious as what they say, because again, all these thousands of people should be sick by now.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the thing is, they've had deaths that are far exceed what we've been through with this COVID thing here. So I've seen on certain statistics, where really and truly there's been far more deaths in previous years.
Yeah, from flu.
To what's happened here now. And all the same, I'm not trying to minimize, the dangers of this thing here, because even my brother's wife ended up sick with it just a little while ago, and she's just recovered now. And so, we really, we've got to be careful. But it's not, the agenda here to me is just a rule of fear, which involves ultimately control.
Correct.
And we've been locked down, and I understand lockdown as being at a time when the authorities don't want everyone to see what's happening, so we have lockdown, and then they can go and do whatever they
they're
have
gonna
to
do,
and so on, and then after it's done, then we unlock you, and you can go about your business. But everything is changing. While everyone is locked down, they're thinking in their mind, what's going on? What's happening? What's this? And it's the same thing that's happened here. Everyone's been talking about 5G. Do you think it's just a 5G thing, or
there's a bunch of things there? I mean, 5G, I think may have 5G. There's something wrong. There's something very wrong about 5G. But whether 5G is responsible for the virus, I don't think there's that actual connection. There is something wrong with 5G. Yes, that stands alone. COVID, that's something that also stands alone. I mean, the laws that they're trying to pass quick time, for under the guise of our own protection. I mean, the track and trace. There's so many elements here. It's not just one thing. It's not 1 + 1 here. It's 1 + 1 divided by this, the subsection of that, and it's a whole equation here. And there's so many things going on that there's so many things going on all at the same time. There's so many conspiracy theories flying around, and that's why when I was at the march and I saw all these thousands of people, I recognized that it's not as contagious as what they say.
No.
You know as well.
But funny enough, the police have never seen
masks
ever.
Yeah, the police are in vans all day long. They're not wearing masks. They're not wearing gloves. They don't all live in the same house. They don't live in the same precinct.
And they have to deal with the public.
So what's going on?
So what's going on? What's happening?
All right. It's you know what it is as well. It's same thing. The mind is the biggest tool here, right? And as I said, is that the mind is the biggest. The fear is the biggest contagion. Now, in the same way, like drugs, tablets for medicine, it's like a placebo. It's a mind control thing. If they give it, doctor, I don't feel well. Here's a tablet. Take this. All right, I take this. You should feel better in 2 days. Take the tablet. You believe you're gonna feel better in 2 days. Strange enough, you feel better in 2 days. All right, even though your body. The body which the Almighty has created, which is so fantastic, you know what I mean? That will take care of itself. All right. Now, if they're giving you a tablet and they believe, like, say you're going to be okay in 2 days, you're going to be okay in 2 days. In the same way, if they put the fear of COVID, contagion in your head, when you come into a room of, like, say 6-7 people, all of a sudden you think.
You start feeling ill.
I don't feel good. Hold on. So when you're sitting there and it's like, hold on, my chest feel kind of tight. Your mind is making your chest tight. Your mind is making your body feel ill. Your mind is shutting. Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, the fear will shut you down.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I believe that a lot of people have died through fear. I think more people have died through fear during this period than anything else, because fear opens the door to all sorts of diseases, all sorts of breakdowns of our internal, major organs and stuff like fear, heart attack, fear,
Yeah.
kidney failure, fear, sorts of, suddenly you're constipated through fear. You're migraine through fear. All kinds of things happen through fear. It's
absolutely.
endless.
Your mind is the biggest. Yeah, your mind is the biggest tool here. So
Yeah.
once your mind convinces you that that's the problem, then the chemical reaction throughout the body will shut other organs or other things to
Absolutely.
cause them to fail.
Yeah.
So if we keep our minds open, if we keep our minds enriched, acknowledged,
Yes.
just keep our eyes open, keep our minds open to the fact that I know, like I say, at the same time, you can't take the chance and go around hugging, my mum who's 88 years old and stuff. I mean, you keep your distance because I do believe there is a virus of sort. What I don't believe is the level of contagion. That's what it
Yes,
is.
like it's no more dangerous than the flu we've been living with. For so long.
Because
It's another strain of a flu.
exactly. Now the thing is that for the government and all these other people around the world, it's a money making thing. If they can, this vaccine,
wow. What?
the vaccine is the one. Now they can make. Apparently, I read a report where Bill Gates stands to make $200 billion when this vaccine is rolled out across the globe. 200 billion. How much money does one person need? I mean, really, how much money can you spend? What is it with, who wants money that bad? I mean, give me.
Well, it's he's part of. Do you think he's part of the government himself? I mean, when you got that kind of money, I mean to say you can't. Although you think you're operating on your own, but actually you're part of the government. I've got 200 billion. I mean to say, the government people come. I'm at the government level now. Because what I'm saying. I can't escape it.
That's the fortune of a country. That's a fortune of a country. Countries don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 200 billion.
200
You can go and buy a country.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So Bill Gates represents the U.S. government.
Yeah.
Oh, is that one? Okay.
Oh, is that one?
Yeah,
Sorry,
okay.
that's that. Yeah, he does. I mean, Bill Gates is like he's in deep with like all these governments and all these other people. So I believe there's the Illuminati. Yes, I believe there's Illuminati. Yes, I believe that there is a group of people who are, I don't know, infiltrating the higher echelons of power, and they sit around and they call the shots. The reason I believe that is because I used to work for the newspapers, and there was one time I was at one of the newspapers. Sorry, yes, I used to work for newspapers, yes, because I'm a photographer, but I also work for the record companies. And one time I was at one of the record companies, and they were trying to break a new artist.
Right.
Yeah. So it just so happened that I was in the office at the time because I was there for another job, where the governor of the record company called up the governor of GMTV and said, "Listen, like, John, how you doing? Yeah, not too bad. The kid's good. Da, da, da. Yeah, it's fine. Listen, I've got a new artist I need to break. Can we get a slot on the morning show? Yeah, sure. That's when I used to have a morning sort of artist in the mornings. And so that's how quick. I mean, that's a big deal. Joe Blogs on street can't get onto GMTV just like that. You can't get to the newspaper just like that. But these people who are at the levels of, the heads of, they play golf together, drink tea together, their wives hang out together, whatever. So they control that level of power. So they can say, listen, put your artist on there, your artist gets exposure, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, write a nice article on me in the paper, this, whatever. Now, if you got people like that who can work on the level that I can access, I mean, there's got to be people at the level of government, country to country, power to power, superpower to superpower.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So when you got people like, Donald Trump talking to Putin, who, they control the lives. They got the lives of millions. I forget about thousands, millions of people in their hands. You know what I mean? It's way too much power. It's way too much power, and it's and to see their abuse of the power hurts even more. Yeah.
Well, do you think that this is this whole COVID thing is a way of even increasing that power even more, so that people think they're free, but what they think they're going into this new world, but in fact, what they're going into is more like a matrix where all these structures are set up that that makes life more controlled than it was before. Well, we've been more controlled in the last few months than ever.
Yeah, than ever. I mean, I've
and so is this we're getting? Is this sort of prelude to getting used to being more controlled than you ever been in your life before?
I've never been to prison, but I've been in prison in my own home.
Yeah,
it's a comfy home, but I'm in prisons all the same. You can't go out. You go and get your hour of exercise a day. You got to be in by a certain time.
Yeah.
If you're in the wrong area, therefore there's a fine or some sort of penalty you got to pay. That's I'm pretty sure when I've seen the movies of people in prison and stuff.
Yes.
That's like areas of the yard. You know what I mean?
Right,
So how comes
absolutely.
you coming over here to this bench? This is the blah 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 bench.
That's right.
You don't belong over here. So if I went from Walthamstow to Brixton, what you do in the Brixton area?
That's
you live
right.
in Walthamstow.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just like when in prison you couldn't go from one wing to the other wing. E wing is here and A wing is just across the circle there, but you can't walk across. But you can't walk across the circle to A wing just like that without getting arrested by the prison officers and so on. And, And lockdown in prison is just basically a time when even the most trusted prisoner who's allowed to go out into the public and buy stuff in the shop and come back, he has to be locked away as well. And lockdown is when either someone is being moved in or moved out, or someone is going to get kicked all the way to the block and no one will see what's happening, but you can hear the screaming, and the roll of thunder with all the boots going and rushing him down to the block,
See, that's what lockdown's about.
Yes.
Locking down because we're not supposed to see what they don't want us to see. Yeah, they feed us the information they want to feed us.
Yeah.
They feed us the information they want to feed us via the media, via the television, by the radio. But then what they don't want us to see, they say we're supposed to be in bed by a certain time, close your eyes, and then by the time we wake up, it'll be a brand new world. Their world. Of their making, of their creation. It's not the world that we're looking for. You know what? If they turn around and said, listen, we will offer you X amount of money for your house. You know what I mean? Here's some repatriation money.
Yes.
Go about your business. Look how much people will take up on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yes, repatriation is a very good idea. Actually, why don't the right wing, the extreme right, put up the repatriation money? And
send us back over there.
I mean, to say, I'm sure a lot of black people, they'd take £1 million and go back home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, depends. Some have never seen $1 million or $500,000. It's even 100 grand.
Yeah.
Some people would love 100 grand and they'd be off.
Yeah, true.
Depends where you're at, but people with houses and families and all like that, well, give them, if the house is worth $2 million, give them 3 million and say bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. But the truth is, remember as well, we have laid the seed, we have put in. So we're owed. We're owed more than.
Well, they could never pay us. They could never repay us. They could never repay us.
Yeah.
I do believe that we need to get out. We really did. Or at least have a place over there in Africa, so that we're going to start setting up places in Africa so that where we can go to live. We're going to start moving in that direction. Instead of me now, I've got some money here. Instead of spending it here, I might as well go over to Africa and buy a bit of land there. Just have the land and make sure everything is legally correct and so on and so forth. Start build on it, or land to start grow food, agricultural products. Get a tractor. Get this and that. Obviously doing it collectively, we could do so much. And we could actually, sort of build up find a nice part of Africa where we're happy to live in and lovely people, and just build on it, work on it. We've got to start from somewhere. We mustn't be afraid. Africa, it's like hard work now. I might as well stay here. I've got my roots here and all this. No, our roots is in Africa. Our roots is not here. This is the illusion. And this is, and fighting to stay somewhere where we're not wanted. I've never stayed when I rented rooms or things like that, or rented a flat or anything in a property. I never stayed where I wasn't wanted. Where a hostile landlord, I'm off just like that. I didn't fight and I've got a right here and, I'll take it to court. I leave, because to me, he's still going to resent me even when I'm living there. You know what I'm saying? And what's he going to try next? I don't know.
Yeah. But we can't be naive enough to believe that even if, they were to pay us out and send us wherever we want to go in the world.
Yeah.
You want to go to Africa? Go back to Africa. Go buy a little piece of land in Africa and build up your house and your infrastructure and everything else.
Yeah.
That's not the end of it. Africa is rich in minerals, land, diamonds. We could go there and live there. There's space enough for us to maneuver and build and do. We could turn it into another Dubai, whatever it is, we can do.
Absolutely.
But the problem is that the naivety would be if we thought that we could go there and live in peace for the rest of our lives, because when they see what we're capable of, and we build a land so beautiful and build it up to such a level of everybody will want to be there, then they will come in and try and find some way of invading it or take it over, or weapons of mass destruction, or your government is this, or they'll find a way to infiltrate it and try and come in and take it over, because Black Wall Street.
Yes, but it's better that we go down that route than live like this indefinitely. This is it. This is what's this is. I've heard the other argument. Oh well, we don't have weapons in space or under the sea or on the sea or on land like them, and so it's useless. What's the point fighting and all the rest of it? The thing is, we've got to go and build our own future. And it's pointless building it here. You know what I mean? Really and truly.
Yeah,
let's face facts. And or in America, we've got to go back home to Africa and start to build. If the Chinaman can go over there with 50 grand and get into the mining business with 50,000 US, and 5 years later, or 3 to 5 years later, he's got £5 million. We can do far greater than that.
Oh yeah.
If he can do it, we can do it.
Oh yeah.
Let's
Definitely.
do it. Yeah. Let's go over there and talk to the governments and all this and that. We can easily get to talk to the government ministers over there easier than over here.
We need to revert back to our parents' plan, which was come over, make your money, go back.
Yes, that's right.
That's what we're supposed to do. But the problem is that many of us have forgotten it.
Yeah.
A lot of us got caught up in the system. A lot of our parents, unfortunately, didn't make it back due to health reasons. So we need to really look at the original plan. Go back to in the same like a business. Go back to the business plan. If things ain't working the way it's supposed to be working, go back to the original business plan and the original concept that you had in mind as to what you were trying to achieve. Look at it again, say it again, and take it back from scratch. Absolutely. Because, as you said, things like being abused for so many years and downtrodden for so many years, what's happening now can't continue to happen.
Absolutely. And we play a part in it continuing to happen by sticking around and sticking around and making plans for the future, like as though we're here forever. I mean, they say when we've got, you know, gold and diamonds to attend to, and all these other minerals that they make the mobile phone with, and stuff like that to attend to. We've got, you know, exceedingly great wealth beyond our dreams, and we've got to, you know, we have to make a move. We have to leave, or at least start to build, so that as we're building, suddenly we see, oh yes, I think I better leave now, because, you know, you can see things. You know, you can see the garden growing. You can see things. And, you know, the thing is, we have a good connection here, that we've been living here all our lives, some of us, and some like me, most of my life, but not all of my life. And so we have the experience over here where we can act, where we've got the connections here. So when we go over there, we can do the trade. We can be the ones to trade with these people over here, because you know, we don't have to go through no middleman. You know, you know, absolutely. So, you know, this is the way I see us moving forward, rather than entrenching ourselves and demanding these laws to be changed and this and that. By the time we fight through all that, you know, people have had other children, and we've become great-grandparents or grandparents and this and that, and then there's still more news about our little ones being stopped on the streets and being murdered or murdering each other or whatever. You know, we've got to break that cycle. And to break that cycle is to, when we come out of the prisons, not to go back to that prison.
Definitely.
Again.
But the thing is that with the breaking the cycle, yes, definitely the cycle should be broken, but at the same time, just walking away from the problem isn't helping the problem. The problem's still going to exist, and we need to ensure that the problem of racism and oppression needs to be squashed. I mean, it needs to be squashed. So whether we stay here or not stay here, it needs the racism needs to be squashed. It needs to go. There needs to be reform in the judicial system. Because, say for instance, all right, let's spin forward a few hundred years. We're living. We've all gone back to Africa. We've built the place. It's beautiful. The land, the sunshine is beautiful, and the grass is green. But then, like in the same way, now we've got a beautiful house. So what now? We can't venture out and go to America. We can't venture out and go to England. You want to see other parts of the world and see what other people are doing. But if you go to these other countries now, bear in mind, your home is nice, Africa is nice, but now you say, let me take a trip to go to England. And you come across apartheid, racism and all that stuff, because because we all left, they don't have nothing to compare it to. They've got nothing, they've got no systems in place to deal with us or know how to deal with us the way they should. So we got to teach them now how to deal with us as equals from now. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So if ever we want to come back, even if we just set up the systems, put them in place and leave, that's fine too. But just as long as like the systems are in place, because the current systems are not working. They don't work for us, and I'm too afraid for my children and my grandchildren. It's not the world that. It's not the world that I'm trying to bring them up in. It's not the world I expected to bring them up in.
Well, I see our grandchildren, our children being desensitized to things that are happening.
Yeah.
I mean, my son, my grandson, 13 years of age, he was mugged by 3 other youths.
Oh,
you
wow.
know, unfortunately, they were black youths, and you know, well, I would like to say, fortunately, that they were white youths either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no fortune in there, in that, whichever way you look at it. And the fact of the matter is that there was a knife involved, and but it wasn't used against my grandson.
Good.
Thank God for
Good.
that. And he didn't want to hand over his phone nor his bag. They ended up giving him back his phone and keeping the bag, and went off with it, and he called the police, and one boy was apprehended. And the fact of the matter is, his brother, who's 9 years of age, when he heard about the incident, it was like water off a duck's back.
Really?
You know, this is that. So I said, look, You know, it's not like, oh, you know, brother, you know, where is it? You know, no concern in that regards as to,
Yeah.
you know, how he's feeling and.
Oh, you got mugged. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
What's for dinner?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Just like that.
Yeah.
This is the world that our grandchildren are growing up in.
That's crazy because that's the same conversation I was having with my sister yesterday. Because when the video of George Floyd came around, I said, "Have you seen it?" She goes, "Yeah, it popped up on my phone a few times from a few different people, but she hasn't got the heart to watch it. She's now said to herself that she doesn't want to see any more violence on black bodies anymore. She does. I mean, you can never unsee what you've seen. You know what I mean? I know it's not a case of being ignorant to it, but she knows what's going on. But you can't unsee what you've seen, and the black bodies and violence of towards black people and our brothers and sisters and everything else is getting too much to bear. And as you said, if they keep on showing it, you become desensitized to it. Absolutely. To the point where I know nothing. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's just another black boy dead in the street. Oh, what is his throat is half cut open? You know what I mean? There ain't nothing. It is something. That's someone's brother, son, father.
Life.
It's life.
Life, you know, life. Mercedes and diamond rings and big beautiful houses are no good to us without any life. You know,
Exactly.
You know, life is the highest. You know, it's not houses make my life. My life makes the house.
Exactly.
My life makes the ring or the car or whatever it is. It's my life that's, you know what I mean, that has dominion over these things. Not they don't have dominion over me. And unfortunately, too many people have descended into the sea of vanity and materialism to such a great degree that they actually think that they're worthless without their Jaguar, without their house, without their jewels, without their, you know what I mean, these material accessories. They say that they're nothing, and it's not true, is it?
No, it's not true. What you need is love in your heart. You need compassion. You need, same thing you were saying earlier. You need you can have, all right, you got a Jag, big house, big mansion, country villa, money in the bank, and you got bad health. Now what? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Is that you can't breathe. You mean you got a bad lung. So how much money in the world? I remember there was one time there was the lottery was X amount of million, 80 million, I can't remember what it is. And I remember filling in my ticket and everything else, and I really, in my heart of hearts, I thought I was going to win it. That's what it was.
Yes,
I thought I was going to win it. You know what I mean?
In it to win it.
Yeah, you're going to be in it to win it. So I feel like my ticket, paid my £2, whatever, and like I was there, they're watching the numbers and hoping. And then, like say, as everybody does, you start to think about what you're going to spend the money on if you win, what you're going to do first, what you're going to do second, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And what come to my mind was that what I realized, strange enough, at that moment was what I most wanted, no matter how much money I had in the world, it couldn't buy. There's a friend of mine who died the previous year. No matter how much money in the world you got, you can't bring him back. You know what I mean? You can't bring back a life. You can't put another breath into someone who's passed.
Absolutely, brother.
So all the chattels, all the power that you think you may have, all that stuff doesn't mean nothing if you don't have health of mind, health of body, health of spirit.
Absolutely.
I mean, love in your heart.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah.
That's for real, and I think we're getting to the closing stages here, and
Oh wow!
yes, because our time is 8 o'clock,
And we just start getting rolling.
yeah, absolutely, brother. And I can't get any music from here, so let me see. No. Okay. Yes. What's that? It's a buzzing noise. Yes, brothers and sisters, we've come to the, to the end of the of Find Your Voice. It's not the end. We'll continue next Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. I hope you all will tune in then. The phones were playing up, they were vibrating and so on and so forth, but somehow the lines, something just hasn't been happening. So we apologize to anyone who's been trying to get through and has been able to get through. You know, we'll keep working on the technical side of things, and hopefully, by God's grace, things will be better next week as far as the communication via live link is concerned. So, Brother Tony, have you got any parting word to our brothers and sisters out there?
To all those who are going on the protest marches for our fallen brother, Brother George Floyd, go, if you're going out in a protest, please protest, be peaceful, stay safe, look after yourselves, look after your brother, look after your sister, and let's make a change. Let's make a change.
Yes, brothers and sisters, you know, let's do the right thing and the right thing will happen. There.
Yeah.
Let's do the right thing and the right thing will happen. Let's be honest with ourselves, you know, and do the right thing. And the right thing will happen. And we're doing the right thing by protesting about this, by standing up against this atrocity, you know.
Yeah, it's trying to bring music in.
Love to everyone out there. Blessed love to everyone.
When no one is looking, we refuse all of their foolish indoctrinating.